Iran is at war. Its supreme leader is dead. For 12 straight days, US and Israeli strikes have been hitting Iranian targets. And in response, Iran has officially declared the Strait of Hormuz closed to enemy ships. That's the channel that carries 20% of the world's oil. So here's the question nobody on TV seems to be asking. If the strait is closed, why have Iranian tankers shipped almost 12 million barrels of oil through it in the last 2 weeks, with every single barrel headed to just one country? That country is China, and the deal they have could decide who wins this war. To understand what's happening, you need to know one thing about the Strait of Hormuz. At its narrowest point, it's only 21 miles wide. That's it. Just 21 miles separating the Persian Gulf, where countries like Saudi Arabia, Iraq, and the UAE pump their oil from the open ocean. Every single day, about 20 million barrels of crude oil pass through that narrow channel. That's a fifth of everything the entire world uses. Now, imagine someone puts a lock on that door. That's essentially what Iran did on February 28th, right after the US and Israeli strikes began. The Revolutionary Guard declared that no vessel belonging to America, Israel, or their Western allies would be allowed to pass. The message to tanker captains was even clearer. If you try to cross, your ship gets torched. The effect was immediate. Tanker traffic, which normally averages 24 ships a day, dropped to just 4 on the first day. By March 9th, there was only one crossing recorded in an entire day. One ship, and it was Iranian. Right now, 300 oil tankers are stuck inside the Gulf, unable to leave. Shipping companies are rerouting all the way around the southern tip of Africa, which adds 2 weeks to every delivery. Unsurprisingly, oil prices have spiked over 15% since the war started. The world's most important oil highway is closed, except it isn't. Not for everyone. This is where the story gets really interesting. A company that monitors vessel movements using satellite imagery has been tracking ships even when they turn off their GPS transponders, a practice known in the industry as going dark. And what they found in the last 2 weeks is extraordinary. Since the war started, Iranian tankers have made at least 6 runs through the strait. 6 crossings, carrying 11.7 million barrels of crude oil. Every single one was headed to China. Let that sink in for a moment. Iran has declared the strait closed. Its own Revolutionary Guard is attacking vessels that try to cross. 10 ships have been struck in just the first 12 days of the war, and 7 sailors have been killed. And yet, Iran is still shipping its own oil, but only to China. How is this possible? The answer lies in how Iran is enforcing this blockade. On March 5th, the Revolutionary Guard clarified something very important. The ban only applies to ships from the US, Israel, and their Western allies. What about Chinese vessels? The statement didn't mention them at all. Ships began adapting immediately. One bulk carrier, the Iron Maiden, broadcast the message China owner on its radio frequency as it approached the strait. It passed through safely. Another vessel, the Sino-Ocean, did the same thing and also made it through. Iran is running a selective blockade. The strait is closed to the west, but it's open, at least partly, for Beijing. This isn't some accident. It's a transaction. But here's the problem for China. Being Iran's preferred customer might sound like a huge advantage, but it's not that simple. China isn't just buying Iranian oil. It's being pulled into a war it desperately wants to stay out of. Think about China's energy situation for a second. About 45% of its oil imports pass through the Strait of Hormuz. And that's not just from Iran, but from the entire Persian Gulf. Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Kuwait, the UAE. Most of the oil China needs is asterisk, not asterisk Iranian. And most of it is currently stuck. And it gets worse for them. Qatar, which supplies roughly 30% of China's liquefied natural gas, or LNG, had to halt operations at its massive Ras Laffan facility on March 3rd. This is the world's largest LNG export facility, and it shut down completely after an Iranian drone attack. That's the first full shutdown in nearly 3 decades. So, China is in an impossible position. It needs Iran's oil to keep flowing, but it also needs the rest of the Gulf to reopen. And those two things are in direct conflict, because Iran is the very reason the rest of the Gulf is closed. So what's China's strategy? Essentially, it's trying to play both sides. Publicly, Beijing is calling for a ceasefire. China's foreign ministry is saying the strait should remain open and that all parties need to stop their military operations. But what's happening privately? According to Chinese state energy executives, Beijing has been pressing Tehran directly with a very specific demand. Do not target LNG tankers coming from Qatar. In other words, they're telling Iran, keep selling us your oil, but please don't blow up the other fuel we need to buy from your neighbors. Whether Iran will actually listen is another question entirely. The situation is a strategic tightrope walk for China. On one hand, the cheap, uninterrupted flow of Iranian oil is a lifeline, especially with global prices soaring. It gives Beijing leverage and energy security that other nations can only dream of right now. This special relationship could be seen as a massive win for China, cementing its influence in the Middle East. But on the other hand, this alliance puts China in a very precarious spot. By being the sole beneficiary of Iran's selective blockade, Beijing risks alienating its other key energy suppliers in the Gulf, like Saudi Arabia and the UAE. These countries are not just oil suppliers, they are major economic partners for China. Siding too closely with Iran could damage those relationships for years to come. Furthermore, it draws unwanted attention from the United States and its allies. The West could see this exclusive oil deal as China tacitly supporting Iran's aggression, which could lead to sanctions or other forms of political and economic pressure on Beijing. China wants to project itself as a responsible global power, a peacekeeper. But its actions behind the scenes tell a different story, one of pure self-interest. This conflict isn't just about bombs and blockades. It's a high-stakes chess game being played with oil tankers and secret deals. And China, whether it likes it or not, is now a kingmaker in this dangerous game. The choices it makes in the coming weeks could not only determine the outcome of this war, but also reshape the global balance of power for decades. Thank you for watching. What do you think China should do? Let me know in the comments below. And if you found this analysis insightful, be sure to like this video and subscribe for more deep dives into global events. See you next time.